iStation has the ability to support students with wherever they are. And we'll be hearing this afternoon what the recommendations are for time from our iStation team, as well as how to go about setting up an opportunity for students to work within that iStation platform to get that first data set. Um, this is, we'll be using iStation as a supplement to Reading Wonders, so it will not replace Reading Wonders, but it will be in addition to Reading Wonders. And this is a perfect tool to use independently, or for students to use independently. And you'll hear this afternoon just how there are additional resources that you'll be able to access that you can use in small group support as well. But with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our iStation team.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Benson with iStation. I'm one of the professional development specialists with iStation. I'll just give you a real quick intro, just so you know a little bit about who I am. You will see via camera and hear my voice quite a bit this year. I know we have a few more webinars we'll do this year, digging into data once you have that. So you will hopefully get a little more familiar with me as we go throughout the rest of this school year. But I've been with iStation for about 7 years, a little over 7 years. Prior to iStation, I taught elementary school in Dallas, Texas for 11. So I taught second grade, third grade, and gifted and talented. And then the last 3 years I was on campus, we actually used iStation as part of our program as well. So fortunately, things have changed quite a bit in the last 7 years since I came to the company, which is super exciting to see the growth and just the new features that have been added, things like that. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys for the rest of this school year, and maybe hopefully sometime in the future I might get to come visit you guys in person. So let's go ahead and get started. We got about an hour and a half today. I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time as well. So our support number that you see up here, and you'll see this in the recording as well, any technical issues that you guys run into as you're using the program on a day-to-day basis, they don't happen very often, but we know with technology they can happen. Our support contact information is right there. They are all based in Dallas, Texas at our corporate office. They are available to you guys via phone, via email, and we also have a chat feature on the website that I'll show you as well. So if you run into any technical issues, they're a really good resource for you guys to use. You'll get to talk to a live human being pretty quickly. We don't have the big phone tree that I always end up yelling at as I'm trying to get a hold of someone when I call customer support for other companies. So they're a great team, so please feel free to use those guys. You can also encourage your parents to contact them as well. If any parents in the remote setting are having any issues, they can certainly reach out to them as well. We're happy to help the parents as well, so they don't have to keep calling you with questions that you may or may not know the answers to. So please make great use of that team. And they do have English and Spanish speaking customer support agents there as well. So we'll have you guys covered no matter what. We call ourselves the Red Cape Nation. If you've seen any of iStation yet thus far before today, you'll notice our logo has a little boy with the red cape. We believe all students can be superheroes in reading, and we're here to help you help those students realize those dreams. So we're looking forward to teaming up with you guys just to help you help those students. So just a real brief rundown of who we are. We were founded in 1998. They did a survey a few years ago. There's over 1,000 years of teaching experience within the company. Most anybody you will come in contact with has taught at some point in their career, pretty much except for the engineers, and we're okay with that. They don't need to be teachers. They just need to be able to build this stuff to look cool and work properly. So we'll cover, we have a blended learning solution that will help with a variety of the different dual language models that you guys are using. So just a real quick agenda of what we're going to talk about today. I want to make sure that you are comfortable with how the assessments work, how the instruction works, and we'll talk a little bit about scoring. We won't go into too much detail on that today. We'll go deeper into that in later webinars where we're looking at the data, and that will become more helpful at that point. But I definitely want to make you aware of how that works. We'll take a quick look at three of kind of the more, I say basic, but they're really beneficial reports that are really strong reports and you can use them for a lot. So we'll show you where to find those and just real quick what they are. That way, if you want to start looking at this data once your students start assessing, you can definitely get in there and start playing around and looking at the data. We are going to do more webinars in the future, probably end of January, beginning of February timeframe, to go deeper into the data and talk about intervention groups and reading the data and things like that. And then we'll show you where the printable teacher resources are and even some digital resources that you will have available to you to use with your students, whether it's whole group or intervention type settings. We'll talk a little bit about using them in a remote setting as well. So for any students you might have in that remote setting. So we have our iStation Super 7 Essentials, and this is what you get with that blended learning program. So for your students, that begins with those formative assessments. We call them ISIP. That just stands for iStation's Indicators of Progress. From those assessments, they will then be placed, and those assessments are the English and the Spanish reading assessments. They will be placed into our adaptive curriculum. You'll probably hear me say learning path or online instruction a lot as we move forward. That will be based on that initial assessment that they take. They will work through that instruction at their own pace. They will be placed in areas where they need to be based on their initial assessment score. So it's kind of like having another, like a teacher assistant in the classroom that can work with that student where they are. Both of those areas, the assessment and the instruction, are going to create those actionable reports for you. We have reports on pretty much everything they're going to do in iStation. Today, we're going to just look at a very few, just three of those reports real quick that you'll want to start using at the beginning. Using those reports, you can then find resources in our teacher resources area to use with your children, intervention groups, whole group, however you want to use those in the remote setting as well. We have a school to home connection, which obviously this year, that's super important. So your students this year are actually able to take the assessment at home as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But they'll be, they're always able to work in the instruction at home. As the teacher, you will be able to see the time they work at home, what they've done while they're working at home. So you'll be able to kind of see everything your students are doing in iStation. Then we have our professional development, which is starting with you guys here today. And then I'll be working with you throughout the remainder of this school year, just to make sure you guys really feel comfortable using the program and get the most out of it that you can. And we're hoping and we think that that will lead to really great proven results of seeing growth in your students with their reading skills. So as teachers, there are two ways that you guys are going to be able to log into the website, okay? So the main way I would say you're going to be in here the vast majority of the time is in the iStation website. You will use your Clever dashboard to get there, but it's just iStation.com. But for you guys, you'll go into your Clever dashboard and you will see an icon similar to what you see here. You click that and it will open up the website and log you in automatically. So you don't have to worry about usernames and passwords. That's where you're going to access all of your classroom and student information, all of the reports and their data, and then all of those, printable resources as well. There are some really great how-to videos. There's a really great new user's guide we've been working on over the last probably year and a half that just went live this school year. That's really exciting. So we'll take a look at that as well. The other place you're able to log in is the student application. And we'll talk about how to get there today because you'll go through the website to log in. And I believe that application has been pushed to all of your teacher devices. The really great thing about being able to access that is you can really get the whole student experience that way, and you don't have to worry about creating any demo accounts or anything like that. You'll be able to go through the website once you're logged in, open up the student application. you'll be able to take an assessment just like your students do, which I highly recommend. I'm probably going to assign that to you as homework. That will be kind of on the honor system. I'm not going to be able to check it. So, but I always highly recommend doing that just so you have an idea of what your students will experience. And we'll talk about that in just a minute as well. You'll also have access to Teacher Station, which is a really great collection of digital resources you can use with your students as well. And I think one of the most important pieces of having access to this for those young students is the ability to model the assessment to those students. So this is only available K through 3, but you're able to go in and there's a modeling piece where you can pull up each of the different subtests that your students will see. And you can just model, it'll show the directions. It will give a couple of sample questions as well. So you can kind of walk them through how to answer the questions. They can get a little more comfortable with just what it's going to look like. That way, when they log in, it's not some brand new thing to them that, they kind of start focusing on what everything looks like as opposed to just taking the assessment, right? So that's super important. So we're going to take a look at that today as well. In fact, I just want to go ahead and show you how that works for you guys in the app. But before we do that, you guys use Clever to upload all of your teacher accounts and your student accounts. So kind of the catch with that with Clever is that Clever does not upload a grade level for teachers, right? Students, they're fine. They have a grade level. Teachers, it uploads you guys without a grade level. Now, as far as the website goes, that will have no impact on what you see in the website, okay? It doesn't matter what your grade level is set to, you will still see your class in the website. It will not affect you, it will not affect your students' data at all. The only thing it will have any effect on is if you go into the student application with your teacher account, so we go through the website, you open up the app. When you log in to take an assessment, you need to have your grade level set so it knows what assessment to give you. If you don't set your grade level, it will give you a kindergarten assessment, right? And if I'm teaching 4th grade or 3rd grade, obviously I don't want to see that. So I'm going to share a document in the chat. Hopefully, let me see if I can pull that up. So this document is, can I not do, Jill, can I not share through you? Let me try something different.
You should be able to.
I'm not able to.
Which
Okay, well then I
document?
won't share that. I'll show you that and then I'll email Aaron and Aaron can share that. Will that work, Aaron? It's pretty easy to change your grade or to set your grade. So I have a document that I will send to Aaron and she can forward that out to everybody else. But this will just walk you through a real quick process to set your grade. Once we go into the website, I will walk through that process as well. So when you view the recording, you can go and find that. Or when Aaron sends this to you, you guys can go ahead and pull this up and use it. It's super easy to do. So I'm going to open up the application and just show you what the modeling looks like and what Teacher Station looks like. So can you, Jill, can you guys see the app that I have pulled up?
We can.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so you won't have to worry about usernames and passwords. You'll just be able to go through the website. And again, I'm going to show you that when we get there. So when you log in, you guys are using our new user interface called PowerPath. So as a teacher, when you log in, if you want to take an English reading assessment, and really your students will have this exact same experience as well. So if I want to take whichever subject I'm going to work in, whether it's reading or Espanol, I can click into that subject. I can see right here this big green button, and it's kind of pulsating a little bit, says ISIP, and that's going to be your assessment. So the first of the month, they're going to log in, they're going to take their assessment, they click here, it will automatically open up the assessment, give them exactly what they need. So you don't have to worry about scheduling anything. You don't have to worry about turning anything on. Give them time to log in. They will also go through their Clever dashboard as well. They click on the green iSIP button and they just automatically will give them the assessment if they have not finished the assessment for the calendar month, okay? Once they have finished their assessment, this green button will change and it will say activities up here where you see ISIP. That is where they will go to work on work in their instructional path, okay? So for you, it'll work the same way. You click here, it'll give you an assessment. Once you finish the assessment, it'll say activities up here at the top. Then you can go in there and you can experience the instruction just like your students do.
Hey, Mike,
The,
it looks like they're still seeing power, or they're not seeing Power Path. It looks like they're seeing the original screen. So I'm not sure if the Power Path went through with their account.
oh, are they seeing Classic when they log in? Okay. So, all right, well, we can fix that real quick. Let me just log into my Classic account and we'll take a look at what Classic works out until Power Path gets started up for them.
Thanks, Aaron, for letting us know.
I'll get that fixed for you all.
Okay, so in the meantime, if you guys start before the Power Path is up, this is what the Classic view will look like. So this is what you guys will see. So they will click in here with reading with ISIP. Okay, so for the English reading assessment, they would click reading with ISIP here. For the Spanish reading assessment, they will click into Lectura con ISIP, the pink one right here. The beginning of the month, it'll automatically give them the assessment. For the rest of the month, they will still click into those same icons and they will continue working through their instructional path after that, okay? Oral reading fluency, and you have that for English and Spanish right here. That is for the oral reading fluency subtest. That will actually take them out to a separate website where it will log them in automatically and they will take the oral reading fluency subtest, okay? As teachers, you can experience this whole thing just like your students do once we log into the website and go in through there. Here is where you see Teacher Station and Teacher Station in Espanol. So as a teacher, you will see these. Students will not go through these. They won't see the Teacher Station and Teacher Station in Espanol, okay? So this is where you find that collection of digital resources right here. And then right here is, I think, the most important part of teachers being able to log in. You can go into this ISIP modeling piece and you can see it for early reading. And then you have the Spanish right here for Lectura Temprana for the early reading for Spanish as well. And so when you click in here, you go into ISIP early reading modeling, and now you'll have all the subtests that are available. And we'll take a look in just a minute at which subtests you want to focus on depending on your grade level. So now I can go in and see, I can play all these different subtests and we can talk about the directions. We can talk about how to answer those questions, okay? So this is really helpful, I think, especially for kinder, first grade, even second grade. Third grade, I think it's up to you. I think it's still beneficial for them to use it. A lot of schools will use this at the beginning of the year. And then even, if they have students where they think that the students are having problems answering questions more than the knowledge part of it, they might pull this up for those students as well. Then a lot of schools when we come back from winter break in January, you're kind of starting teaching them how to be in school all over again. So they'll pull this up just as a refresher for those students as well. And again, this is only going to be available K through 3 or pre-K through 3 for both English and Spanish. So that's what the app looks like. It's pretty simple once they get started doing it. There's a lot of icons, so it can kind of look like it's a lot, but really they're worried about reading with ISIP here for the English assessment and instruction. And then they're worried about the pink right here for Spanish assessment and instruction, okay? So the app is what the students will see. They will go through their Clever dashboard and they will click on the icon. It will open up the app for them, okay? For teachers, Clever dashboard opens up the website. For students, Clever dashboard opens up the app, right? All right. So that's just a real quick look at the app. We can talk about that more later if we would like to. Remember, for teachers, for you guys, you're not going to go into the app a whole lot. You might take an assessment, you might use the modeling piece, but you're not going to get any data in the app. Okay. The app is only if you want to see what the student experience is like and to use modeling and then to do teacher station. Okay. For looking at data, for looking at all of your student information, you are going to go into the website, which is through your Clever dashboard, and we're going to go there today before we finish up. All right, so let's continue and talk about those assessments. So our assessment of both of them, English and Spanish, are formative assessments. I always like to just show this quote when we talk about formative assessments, just so everyone's kind of on the same page. I remember when I taught and Dallas started really using formative versus summative, sometimes it got a little confusing to me, and this quote has always just really helped me understand the difference. So we are that formative assessment, allowing you to kind of taste that soup in the back and make sure those students are ready to go once they are getting prepared for that summative assessment at the end of the year. We're not helping you see, have they learned what I taught them the last 4 weeks of school or the last semester or whatever that might be. We're helping you inform your instruction to help your students get where they need to be. So that formative assessment is a computer adaptive assessment. And I always like to show this slide as well to talk about computer adaptive assessments. So when they take that first assessment, the first question they're going to see is going to be on their grade level. From there, we're going to go where that student takes us. So if they're answering questions incorrectly, our questions will drop in difficulty and then build back up to meet that student where they are. On the other side, if they're answering questions correctly, we're going to continue to build in difficulty, and you can start to find a ceiling of where some of your more advanced students are working. And I really like these images because this shows what I am pretty sure is a first grade vocabulary subtest. You can see here they've started out with pictures. They're answering questions correctly. Now they get into where they're getting words for the answer choices, okay? So they can kind of fluctuate quite a bit within these subtests on the types of questions they're going to see. So you're going to be able to see who's below or who's struggling, who are your more advanced readers, and who are pretty much on level with where you expect them to be at this time of the year. And again, all these assessments, it's all automatic. You don't have to do anything. Just give them time to log in and take the assessment. So when do you want to do the assessments? So our assessments are monthly. The way they work is on the first of a calendar month, there's going to be a new assessment waiting for those students, okay? So December 1st, there was a new assessment waiting. Once they take that assessment for the rest of the month, they're going to work in the instruction. That assessment will happen upon the first time they log in to the program for that month. So if that's the first, that's when they're going to see it. If the first time they log in isn't until the 9th, then that's when they're going to see the assessment as well. So if you had students log in this month, even this week, they're going to take their December assessment, whenever they log in this month. So going forward, I think this month, if you can get started this month, anytime they can log in is fine. I know in January, we don't come back usually till the second week of January, so you can't really do the first week in January. And I think that's okay for these months. But going forward, as you're thinking about your calendar with iStation, I want to do it as close to the beginning of the month as possible. If possible, that first week of the month. That's what I'm really kind of aiming for to get that assessment done. A couple of our other trainers were principals in elementary schools, and they used iStation. They would just, the first week of the month was always going to be show what you know week. Everyone knew that, all right, this week we're going to get our assessment done. The assessment takes, I would say, between around 30 minutes to complete. Everything is designed to take 30 minutes. But I always kind of say 30 to 40 minutes is a good range for students, because that's just, the real world, right? Some students will work faster, some students will go a little bit slower. So once they finish their assessment, every time they log in, there's working in their instruction for the rest of the month. Then the beginning of the next calendar month, they're going to see the assessment that first week. And then we kind of go with that pattern every month. That gives you a good uniform amount of time between the assessments to teach your whole group instruction, to provide any intervention, and for those kids to work in the instruction, okay? So that's something to think about when you're planning ahead for your iStation or your assessment calendars with iStation. So looking at the English assessment, you have here a list of your subtests down here on the left. And then the little X's that you see are the grade levels that will see those subtests by default, okay? So you don't have to worry about turning any of these on. It's all going to happen automatic. Remember, you're going to hear me say that a lot because I want you to get comfortable knowing that it's just automatic, right? So you can see by grade level which subtests you take. Now, one of the neat things about the program, because it's computer adaptive, first grade, for example, as they're scoring high enough, they will start to drop these lower level subtests off. So like letter knowledge, alphabetic decoding, phonemic awareness. If they have those skills, they don't need to keep seeing those subtests. They're going to drop off, okay? On the other side, for second and third grade, if you have second and third graders who are scoring really low, we're going to automatically present these first grade letter knowledge, alphabetic decoding, and phonemic awareness subtests to them, okay? So that's going to happen automatically for some of your students. They have to be scoring low enough for that to happen, and it won't happen at the earliest until their second assessment, so you wouldn't see it on their first assessment at all. Advanced reading covers grades 4 through 8. They're always going to see just these 4 subtests that you see here: vocabulary, spelling, comprehension, and text fluency, okay? Now, for the advanced reading assessment, the question bank, the bank of questions they can see, goes from about early second grade level up to about end of high school level, okay? So there's a really broad range of questions for those students who are below level and even some of those more advanced students as well. The early reading right here, these questions go from about beginning of pre-K up to about end of 5th grade, beginning of 6th grade level to account for some of your more advanced second and third grade students. So something to be mindful of as well. I will show you in the website where you can see the subtests listed out by grade level, so you don't have to remember everything on this, this slide today. So real quick, here's
Mike,
a breakdown.
real fast.
Yes.
When you log into the website, don't forget to show them the session activity detail, because teachers, there is a way that you can log in and see exactly what your students are seeing and doing in iStation. And I know there's a concern about exactly what their screen is showing, or like being on a Google Meet, you are able to see exactly what they're clicking into iStation when they log in. So unless you want to see them through their webcam, there is a way you can see what they're clicking when they log in.
Yes, yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Awesome.
So for early reading, you'll see these subtests here. So listening comprehension, the narrator will just read them a story. They choose the picture that answers that story or goes along with that story. Letter knowledge, they'll have 2 types of questions. One will be click on the letter B, for example, and then the other is letter sound. So click on the letter that makes the sound the narrator makes, okay? Phonemic awareness, they are doing beginning sounds, and they will also do blending, where a little face will come out and blend phonemes together, and they have to choose the picture that the little face blended. Alphabetic decoding, they're presented with nonsense words, and they will choose the nonsense word the narrator says. Word analysis or spelling, they're given a word, they will use the word in a sentence, give them a word, give them that word again, and they will click on the little letters that you see here to spell that word. Vocabulary, they can either have pictures, click on the picture of the pencil, for example, or click on the picture of what you would ride into school, and there would be a school bus picture there. Or you can have, a choice of 4 words, and you're looking at synonyms, which word means the same or similar to whatever the narrator says. Reading comprehension for early reading can be, read the sentence and click on the picture, or they can get a sentence or a paragraph where they fill in the missing word at the end of it. And then text fluency is kind of it will happen automatically with the assessment, but its score will be kind of a separate thing. It will not be calculated into the overall score that your students will get, but this will be a maze passage where every sixth or seventh word is left blank, and they will have 2 minutes to read through that passage and then fill in as many of those words as they can fill in correctly. So that's what the early reading subtests will look like. For advanced reading for 4th through 8th grade, they're actually going to get 3 choices of themes to use. When they log in and click into Reading with iSIP, it will first ask them to choose a theme. So they have the Right Stuff University, Skyline, and Night. It does not matter which of those they choose. It will be the same assessment from a functional standpoint, the same questions. It will just look different. That's the only difference you'll find, is that it will look different for them. So they can choose whichever one they want and they'll be good to go. Then they will drop in and they will see what that looks like. So this is PowerPath, but this screen right here is what they will see regardless of if they're using PowerPath or if they're using Classic, where they choose the theme that they want to use. So when they click on Reading with iSIP, it will first ask them for the theme they want to choose, and then they will choose that theme and they're off to the races from there. So here are the subtests your students will see. So you'll see the vocabulary questions. They'll get the boss held miscellaneous items such as buttons, keys, pens, nail polish, and notebooks. And they'll ask them to answer the question based on that. You'll see spelling up here where students will actually type into the program. Reading comprehension, they will read through a passage. Once they finish reading the passage, they will go and then answer 4 questions on that passage. Something to be aware of is that once they click into the questions, they are not able to go back and look into the passage, which initially kind of freaks people out a little bit. The questions they're going to get are those gist of it questions, where if you're on grade level and you read this passage with intent, you should be able to answer those questions without needing to go back. When they're in the instruction, anytime they read a passage, answer questions, they can go back and look at the passage. So that's the reading comprehension, and they will have text fluency as well. It works the same as for early reading. The only difference is they will have 2.5 minutes instead of just 2 minutes to read through that passage. So that's the advanced reading assessment. And this is looking at the Right Stuff University option right here. So anything else you would, instead of seeing the asteroids and the little spaceship, you would just see question and your 4 answer choices out here, much like you see on reading comprehension here. So pretty easy. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the Spanish assessment. My colleague, Michelle Kelly, is going to jump in if she needs to. She's far more versed in this than I am. I have kind of just enough knowledge to be dangerous with it. So if Michelle, please feel free to jump in. But here you can see by grade level, the subtest your students are going to take on the Spanish assessment. Much like in English, if your 2nd and 3rd grade students are struggling, they will drop down and see some of these lower subtests, and vice versa with 1st grade and some of those lower grade levels as well. So functionally, it works similar to the English side. One big difference is that Spanish is not a translation of the English assessment. It is 100% created in Spanish. So it is a full-on Spanish reading assessment. I can't think of the word everyone uses for that. I'm having a mind blank right now, but
authentic.
Authentic. Thank you, Michelle. It is an authentic Spanish assessment. So it's a really strong Spanish assessment as well. I think you guys are really going to like it. Here are some of the subtests that you see there. Michelle, will you tell them a little bit about the subtests?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, so we had a different advisory panel and different writers when creating the assessment, because we know learning how to read in Spanish is very different than learning how to read in English. So just to go over a little bit of some of the different subtests. So students are going to be measured in those domains that helped predict reading success in Spanish. And so they're going to receive the phonological and phonemic awareness, as well as phonics. And so really that's consisting of several items. So we're measuring students' ability to really be able to identify symbols that really are specific to the sounds of the Spanish language. And then we're also looking at phonemic and syllabic awareness. So we're really being able to measure students' ability to identify single sounds, whether it's a letter or a syllable, in grade appropriate words. And then of course, because we are computer adaptive, the level of difficulty will adapt as well. We're also looking at blending and beginning sounds. And then when we think about listening comprehension, we're really looking at ensuring that students are able to listen, understand, and really be able to answer the questions that are related to a story that's going to be presented to them orally. And that you can see a sample of that in the first picture there on that slide. We're also going to provide them a subtest in vocabulary. And so we're always looking at oral vocabulary as well as reading vocabulary. And you could see that in the example in the fourth picture on the top right. So we're looking at a combination of different kinds of word strategies. So we want to know, do students understand their roots, their prefixes, their suffixes? And so really we're looking at having students be able to be assessed, using both pictures and words that are going to appear on the screen. And then you can see as well, they have to identify each word. Then we're looking at reading comprehension. So really being able to identify if students are able to read and understand sentences and text, and the length of the sentences or even the text is going to vary, again, because it's a computer adaptive test as well. And so we are looking at asking students inferential and evidential questions in narrative and expository text as well. And then we're also measuring text fluency, which is similar to the reading, and the way that that's done is through a maze task as well. So students are going to have 2.5 minutes to do their text fluency as well. And so we also have the written communication. And this is a subtest that was really, it's very different. We don't measure that in English. And so we're really looking at a couple different things. We're looking at spelling and accent marks. So really ensuring that students are developing the orthographic representation of words. And this was all based off the research of Dr. Kathy Escamilla when she was doing literacy squares. And this is one of the subtests that she found that really is a predictor to ensuring reading success as students are learning how to read in Spanish. And then we're also looking at dictation. So on the bottom left screen, on the left, it'll say, mi mamá está muy, and then so the students have to identify the correct sentence structure. So they have to look at the subject and the verb and the predicate agreement. And so they are going to get different words on the screen, and then the narrator will ask the students to put together a specific sentence, and they can have that repeated as needed. So they can have the icon of an ear, they can press that and have that repeated as well. And so that's really how the early reading, lectura temprana works. And one of the things I just want to reiterate that Mike said is, as your homework is really just to go in and be able to experience the assessment and be able to miss a couple of items, answer correctly in others. So you can really get a feel for the computer adaptiveness, and that's in English or in Spanish, whichever one you feel more comfortable with doing.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
So Lectura Avanzada will be very similar to the English subtest or the English assessment, where they will have the vocabulary, they will have the spelling, and then they will have comprehension and text fluency as well. So this will work very similar to those. On this advanced reading or the Lectura Avanzada, they don't get the choice of the 3 themes. They will just work in the Right Stuff University that you see here, which I'm sure has a different name on the Spanish side than just the Right Stuff University. So I apologize for not knowing that. So we also have oral reading fluency. So all of our assessments have text fluency, which is they're reading silently and they're choosing those missing words in that maze passage. But we also have new, really new last year, but new and improved this year. We have the oral reading fluency that will be available grades K through 5 in both English and Spanish. So the students will be able to click from the app into the oral reading fluency. Once they land here, they will be in the iStation recording studios like you see here. They will have one of the recording technicians greet them and do a microphone check with them. They will tell them kind of what's about to happen, get them ready, and then they will read into a microphone 3 passages. So they'll read 3 passages each month. I have read with just my laptop and I have read with my iPad, and I've always just used the native microphone on those devices, and it's worked just fine. So they shouldn't need to go buy any microphones if they don't have one at all. So that will work for them as well. So once they read their 3 passages, they have a maximum time of 1.5 minutes in each passage. So once they read those passages, then as teachers, you will be able to go in and listen to those passages for on the English side in 1st grade through 3rd grade. They will get auto scored for you. So we have an AI system that will listen to the students and it will give you words correct per minute and their accuracy. That's right now available in grades 1 through 3 on the English side. Spanish and grades 4 and 5, those are new this year, so we don't have auto scoring available for those yet. However, it is coming. We need to have a lot of students read passages, then we have to have humans score them, then we have to have the AI score them and do a big, calibration with that. So it is a priority for this product. So it is coming. We are working on it. English 1st through 3rd grade has been available the longest. So that's why it has auto scoring right now. So look for that in the future, though. It will be coming for Spanish, all grade levels, and then English 4 through 5. But you can go in and manually score, listen to the recording, click on any errors and self-corrects as they go through there, so you can get an idea of how your students sound when they're reading and where they're having some troubles and need some help. So really strong new assessment that we have. We're super excited about it. We've seen kind of explosive use of it this year. It's been pretty neat to see. I was on a call today. I live in Denver, Colorado, and last year on the English side, 3,000 students took it for the whole school year. This year, we're already up to 4,500 just up to this point in the school year. So we're getting a lot of really great use out of it. All right, so best practices for the assessment. So as we're thinking about the assessment, we want to make sure that we set the expectations and we set the testing environment. I know your kids will probably be taking some of these assessments at home, so you want to communicate with the parents. When we get to the website here in a little bit, we'll kind of show you where some of those communication tools are for the parents. But just talk to them about setting the expectations. You want a nice quiet place for them to take their assessment. They're going to need, probably it'd be good to have some earbuds or some headphones. At home, it may not be quite as big of a deal, but if the parents don't want to hear the computer talking the whole time, or if they're sharing, a workspace with brothers and sisters, headphones will definitely be beneficial. I think they're great anyways. It just kind of helps, I think, you hear a little bit better. Your students will need to worry about login information. They will go through their Clever dashboard. If you work with the younger grade levels, I would definitely want to model the assessment. I've shown the modeling through Zoom. Other schools have used their various different screen share platforms to show the modeling as well through that. Um, if you have students taking it at school or when they get back to school and they're taking it on campus, I think the most important piece right here is to actively monitor your students just to make sure they're staying on task. Okay. Um, at home, I would talk to the parents about, hey, make sure they're like doing this, but don't help them. Okay. I think when you're talking to the parents about taking the assessment at home, you want to stress to them not to help the students on the assessment. And I know as a parent, from what I've heard from my friends who have kids, I know that's probably hard to do is listen to your child struggle with something. But if you don't get reliable data, then you can't provide the help they need. So kind of help your parents understand that. Another thing to think about is that initial assessment they take, they're going to be placed into the instruction based on that. So if you have the parents helping them answer questions, or big brothers and sisters helping them answer questions, or whoever it is at home, they could be placed far too high in the instruction, and then the instruction won't be beneficial to them because it will be above where they need to be. So I think just stress to your parents when you communicate with them about this new assessment they're doing at home. Just stress to them, please do not help them. If your children are struggling, I, as the teacher, need to see that because that will help me address their needs as we go forward. So those are really the best practices for the assessment. We can talk more about this in some later ones if you see any issues that pop up from students using it at home. So does everybody feel pretty good so far about the assessment? I know we're kind of squeezing a lot into a little bit of time here. So are you guys handling the questions pretty well, Jill and Michelle? They seem pretty good questions.
Yeah, everybody's doing great with the questions.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk about the assessment real quick. So this is for your students. Again, they will go through the Clever dashboard. Remember, reading with ISIP, blue-ish in English, pink in Spanish for Classic View. Brian's going to work on getting you guys onto Power Path. So there they will just click into whichever subject they need to take, and then they will click on ISIP to take the assessment. So that's pretty easy from that standpoint. Just remember, it takes about, I always give the range of 30 to 40 minutes. It's designed to take 30, but 30 to 40 is kind of a good range to think about. When they take an assessment, I forgot to mention this earlier, if they start an assessment and they have to log out in the middle of that assessment for whatever reason, whenever they log back in to finish it, they will restart in the subtest they were in when they logged out. So if they've finished, for example, vocabulary and spelling, and they're working in comprehension, they have to log out for whatever reason. When they come back, they will log back in, they will start back up with comprehension. Those first two subtests they have completed will be in the bank. They won't see those again for the current month, okay? So when your students take the assessment, you're gonna get an ability score for them for whichever assessment they're taking, whether it's English or Spanish, early or advanced. By itself, that score doesn't really mean a whole lot. If you tell someone my first grader got a 225 on their ISIP assessment, like, what does that mean, right? I can't even tell you what that means. But this is the cool part. All of our subtests, all of our assessments are nationally normed. So we're able to give you percentiles, okay? We're gonna talk a lot about percentiles end of January, beginning of February, whenever we meet again. But percentiles are what I use for everything. I use them to see how my students are doing, right? I can see here my first grader who scored a 225 is in the 90th percentile, whereas my third grader who scored a 225 is in the 22nd percentile, right? So it needs some intervention. I can compare these two students with their score. They both have the same score on the early reading assessment, So they're working at about the same ability level, okay? I also like to use percentile to look at growth, right? If your percentile remains the same all school year, technically you have grown, right? You have to grow to maintain your spot amongst your peers. If you're in the 90th percentile and you maintain that, you're still doing pretty well, okay? If you're in the 22nd percentile, however, I need you to grow faster than maintaining your spot amongst your peers, right? So I need to see your percentile grow as well, right? For advanced reading, for both assessments, it works the same. The only difference is you're getting a 4-digit number as well. I know in the future we're looking at standardizing that scale score across all grade levels, but for this year, you're going to advanced reading students are going to get a 4-digit score. But again, you're going to get percentiles, and that's what I like to pay attention to. All right. Those scores and those percentiles are going to place your students into their levels, their ability levels that you see here, okay? So 20th percentile and below are going to be your level 1 students. They're going to be highlighted in red. Your 21st to 40th percentile, they're going to be level 2. They're going to be highlighted in yellow. And then you're going to have level 3, which is kind of like an avocado color. 40th to 60th. Level 4, I think everyone's saying this is like a margarita color. That's going to be 61st to 80th. And then you have level 5, 80th and above. Okay. These are really nice because I love how it splits them out just 20 percentile points, because you can really see with these shades of green that I have some students who are on track to be where they need to be, but they're not safe. Okay. So I can look at these level 3 kids. These are like your bubble kids that I really need to pay attention to because they could slide down into that level 2. Okay. When I'm looking at these, I'm thinking about the level of support my students need. Levels 3, 4, 5. They're going to need that strong core instruction plus differentiation that happens within that core instruction. Okay. Level 2, they need that strong core instruction and differentiation as well, but they're also going to need some supplemental intervention on top of that. And then level 1 still needs that core instruction on grade level and differentiation, but they're going to get some of that more intense small group intervention. They're probably going to get some one-on-one time with the teacher for some of those students. Okay. And again, we're going to talk more about this when we meet again and talk about data as we go through there. When your students take their assessment, they're going to get Lexile measures as well, and that is going to be based on the reading comprehension subtest. And Michelle, does it still only go up to 3rd grade for Lexiles? Okay. Yeah. So on the English side, all grade levels will get a Lexile except for kindergarten because they do not take the reading comprehension subtest. Spanish, it will be up through 3rd grade, will get a Lexile measure from the assessment from the reading comprehension subtest. Something we'll talk more about when we get into our data webinars later on. All right, we're going to go real quick through this because I want to make sure we get to the website. I know I see a question about setting grade level, so I'm going to get there real quick. The instruction is very closely tied to the assessment. One of the nice things about the instruction, I like to think of it as kind of like a swimming pool of instruction, and the different assessments will drop in to that swimming pool of instruction. Regardless of the assessment they come from, they can land, whether it's early reading or advanced reading, they can land anywhere in those cycles of instruction, okay, on the English side. On Spanish, the advanced reading can go, is it a grade level below, Michelle?
Yeah, it's the same like reading. It's going to drop them into the instruction that they need when they need it. So if you have a student who is struggling with foundational skills in 4th grade, they might drop down to some earlier cycles to kind of help close those gaps. Or if you have students working above grade level, they're going to be able to work a little bit above as well.
Excellent, thank you.
No problem.
So the English side, or both of our instruction, works on a continuum that you see here, similar to this. So they'll start off learning to read in the lower instructional cycles, and they'll work up more into a reading to learn type of instruction where we go from I'm learning sounds and blends and things like that to now I should be an established reader. We're not learning those letter sounds anymore. Now we're talking about reading to comprehend. So you're getting a lot more of the comprehension skills as you move higher into the cycles of instruction. One other thing you'll start to see is once they get into about cycle 12, they'll start to get more science and social studies content used to teach those reading skills. So you get a lot of good cross-curricular work in there as well. And then Spanish will work similar. You're working on this continuum that you see here, and they will work through all these different skills down below.
Can I just add something real quick, Mike?
Yes.
Yep. So they're actually, so the first cycle, cycle 1 is really focused on los vocales. So students are learning their vowels, the A, E, I, O, U. And so there's a lot of the natural way where you learn how to read in Spanish. And so there's a lot of syllabication involved and just focusing on those, being able to blend sounds to syllables together in order to form words and then sentence. So it's really the authentic way you learn how to read in Spanish as well.
Excellent. So that's just kind of a real quick look at what the how the instruction works. When they are in that instruction, it's not just a bunch of games. They're actually getting a lesson cycle like you see here, where they will learn the skill explicitly. They will go through a guided practice. Then they will always go through independent practice as well. They will always receive corrective feedback as they're going through, and they can even receive some reteach lessons that are built in as well. If they are struggling with these skills, we're going to alert you to that on a couple of your reports, just to say, hey, you know, these students are struggling with these skills. Can you help them out, teacher, with those skills? Because we've shown them, you know, the lesson plus a reteach or two, and they really need some extra help from you. So when your students are using the instruction, we do have some recommended weekly usage times. We spent the 18-19 school year looking at doing a lot of research, looking at student usage and growth and kind of finding that sweet spot for you guys where they get good growth out of the program, but we're also not taking up a lot of your instructional time, okay? So levels 3, 4, and 5, those kids who will be labeled green or will be coded in green, we just recommend 30 or more minutes per week. Level 2 and level 3 both, we just recommend 40 or more minutes per week. I like to recommend 30 to 60 minutes per week, especially for level 2 students, or 40 to 60 for level 2. Level 3, 4, 5, 30 to 60. I don't really like to recommend more time than that. For your really advanced, like middle school students, they can, you know, they probably are going to be placed very high in the instruction, so they might run out of instruction, and then they can go back and redo some of it. But if they're limited to the time they're in there, I think it's more beneficial. For level 2 and 3, I think 40 to 60 minutes is a good amount of time for them as well. It is possible for them to just kind of power through and get into things.
Mike, can I just say
that really is too high for them. Sorry, Michelle?
The red level 1.
Oh, goodness. Sorry. I changed it from tiers. It used to say tiers and it was tier 3 and I messed the one.
It's okay. I knew what you meant. But just to clarify for those of you on the call, the red would be your level 1 kids. That's
level 1. I'm sorry. All right. Let's go take a look at the website. So for you guys, I'm going to go to the website and just log in. So when you guys want to log in as teachers, you will go to the your Clever dashboard, okay? Once you go there, you'll see an iStation icon. You will click that. It will open the website up and it will log you in, right? So when you do that, you will land here on the report and management portal. So the first thing I want to show you here is how to set your grade level. And remember, I'm going to send you a how-to document. I'm going to send a document to Aaron, who will then forward that hopefully to you guys. But it's pretty easy to do. So to change your grade level, once you get logged in, you'll go up here to your name in the top right. From here, I'm going to click on my name. I'm going to go right here to my profile. Okay. Click on my profile. That will open up my profile, and I will see right here this little about section with this notepad. I'm going to click on the notepad. And right here, you can see treat as grade. Right now, yours will be blank, which means when you take an assessment as a teacher, you will see a kindergarten assessment. So you can click on this and you can then set your grade level to whatever you teach. If you teach multiple grades, or you are an instructional coach, or you are an administrator, you can choose whichever grade level you would like to see, and you can change that as often as you would like. So once you set your grade level, you can update your profile, and then you will see right here, treat as grade whatever you set. Okay. All right, so let me go back home and we'll talk about first some of the kind of how-to resources that you will have available, and then we'll look at your classroom and see what's there. So the first thing I want to show you is our interactive users guide. I saw a question about will there be anything in writing? So
Mike,
this would be one place that you can go for that. Yes, Erin.
there's a couple of questions about how to get to where to log in. So folks, if you go to YSD resources and click on staff resources, go to Clever, the Clever link, you will see the iStation icon. You click on iStation, it will log you in. And then in that upper right-hand corner, once you are in iStation, there where you see your name, you will be able to drop down. There's a little drop down menu, and you'll be able to see where it says launch iStation. So that portion where Mike was previous to this, that's where you go to actually launch the program. But you'll need to log in through Clever to get to either this part or the actual application itself.
Yes. Yeah, so when you log into Clever, you need to find, there's the iStation icon, you need to find that. That icon will take you here to the website. Okay.
And just so you know, the icon's all the way at the bottom of your Clever dashboard. It's
Thank
like
you.
all the way at the bottom. So you have to scroll all the way down to find it.
And then
Thank
you
you
can
very
click,
much for that.
you can click the heart and make it a favorite, and it will come up toward the top.
Excellent. I always like hearing that from people because I don't have access to Clever right now, so I never know what it actually looks like until someone tells me or shows me. So thank you for relaying that. So scroll all the way down. Once you click that icon, it should open up. When you click on your name, my profile will let you set your grade level. And then this gray box, you'll see this gray box right here that says launch iStation app. That is where you will click to then launch the application so that you can log in as a teacher. Okay. So that's where you can go to launch that app. We'll come back to that. We may put that off until the next time, but just remember that here. So when you're here, if you click on this Get Help tab right here in the website, you can open up the iStation Users Guide from this. So I know someone had asked if there's anything in writing that will kind of help you through this. So when I go to the iStation Users Guide, this is really, we're trying to set this up to really help, especially new users. So you've got a link here for getting started with iStation, and this will give you a lot of the information that we've talked about today. So I would just worry about this implementation contact over here. You, as teachers, you won't have to worry about either of these two, but if you click here, this will show you an article about a lot of information as far as how to get your students logged in, how teachers want to get started, all that fun stuff there. You can also explore, and here are some of the best practices for iStation. Where do we go? Let's go back home. So here's some iStation best practices. So you'll get a lot of tips here as well. You can click into any of these articles. So feel free to browse that as much as you want. One of the nice things about the website is you can't really break anything. The back button on your browser, if you get somewhere you're like, ooh, I don't know if I need to be here, you can use the back button on your browser and get back to where you just came So that is right here in your Get Help. So let's go look at our classroom now, because I want to show you some things in our classroom. I know we've got about 18 minutes left, and I want to give some time to make sure we get any questions covered. So once you're logged in, you'll see a tab up here at the top for your classroom. So you click into your classroom, that will already be set for you, right? That was all set for the uploads. So one thing you will see here, or you will see your students listed in alphabetical order. This middle column will show you their ISIP status for the month. So at the beginning of the month, before they take an assessment, these will all say incomplete. And then once they finish their assessment, that will change to complete, and it will light up in the color of the level they are, okay? One of the neat things, so when you log in by default, this will be your view, right? You'll see just whatever you have subscriptions to. If you have students who will be taking both reading or English and Spanish, you can check this box here for show multiple products, and then you can add Espanol to this page as well. So for those teachers who have students who will be taking both assessments, you can see both of those assessments here. You will also see their activity for the current week. So any day they log in will light up in blue, and then you will get a cumulative count of minutes for the current week, Sunday to Saturday, right here. You have a little white triangle here that you can toggle back and look at the previous week as well. So this can help you see who is getting those 30 to 40 or 60 minutes or however many they're getting, okay? If you have just one of these selected, you can do it with both, but I can filter up here by the level of my students, or I can even see who has not finished their assessment this month. So I can go and look at why that may be happening. So this is just that first step of seeing, okay, all of them have taken their assessment. I can really quickly get a good rundown of who is which level, okay? Now, once my students finish taking their assessment, we always want to know how they do. We want to make things as easy on you as possible at iStation. So the really three main reports you'll want to start off using are all located here in your classroom. You can always go click up here on the report tab and go look at all the reports we have available. But I think for right now, that'll be a little overwhelming. So we'll just stick to what is in our classroom. So once I'm in my classroom, my students have finished their assessment. I will scroll down, and over here to the left, I'll see this about area. And right below that, you will see a related reports area, okay? And you will only see reports for the subscriptions that your school has. So if you only have English, you'll only see English. If you have English and Spanish, you will see English and Spanish. The nice thing is for the English and Spanish, the reports all work the same. So we're going to look at just these top three reports here real quick. When we meet again, and once you have data and we start talking about intervention groups and reading the data, we'll get much more detailed into this. But right now, I just want to show you kind of what they are and where they are, right? So ISIP summary is just that kind of first, how did we do type of assessment. So I click on this link. This will show me a bar graph that gives me whole class information. I can see the percentage of my students at each level for each of the subtests they have taken. When I scroll down, this is where I will see individual scores and levels for overall plus any subtests they have taken, okay? They're always going to be in order from your lowest score down to your highest score, right? I can see each of the subtests here. I can even use this to investigate why data either may not make sense or just to investigate what students are doing. So from this report, you'll notice a little plus sign out here, and we'll talk about this a lot more on our next meeting. But if you click there, you can use those blue plus signs to then drill down deeper into the data and even get down and see, here's the assessment, here are the questions they were asked, here's the response the student chose. I can even see how long it took them to choose an answer, okay? So I can really go from Administrator, really kind of 10,000 foot, how are we doing as a campus? And then I can drill all the way down and get as granular as looking at the questions and how long it took students to answer those questions, okay? And this will work the same for both the English and the Spanish. And we'll talk more about this at a later date. I know we're getting a little bit of a time crunch. So ISIP summary is that good kind of overall, how are we doing as a class type of question. It will always run for the current month. I can go up here to edit the report, and I can go back and look at previous months if I need to as well, okay? So if it's May and I want to see how my class looked in October, I can go back and do that. Another neat feature is the beginning of next school year. If you're still using iStation, you can look at your class at the beginning of next year and see how they looked at the end of this school year as well. So that's kind of a really neat thing to look at when you're kind of planning for this school year. All right, so that's ISIP summary. Let's go take a look at our other two reports. So I'm going to go back out to my classroom page. Remember, everything we want to do is going to be right here in our classroom page. So if we scroll down, the next report I want to show you is the classroom summary. The classroom summary is a wonderful snapshot of data for your whole class. So I can see really quickly all of my students and the level they're in because they'll be separated by level. Up here, I can see if I have any critical intervention students. So critical intervention students are those students who their score was in the 10th percentile and below their overall percentile. So they're going to be highlighted for you as well. You're probably going to know who these kids are without us even highlighting them, right? Those are those kids' names. You can see their most recent overall assessment data, overall score, percentile rank overall, their Lexile score. I can see how much usage they have. I can even see the cycle of instruction they are currently working in, okay? So that's really nice to be able to see as well. Another neat thing is you'll see up here in this blue box, the one I deleted earlier, you won't see that. But you can say you can run a version of this that includes both English and Spanish, is what it basically says. So if I go up here to edit report, I can click right here to include all reading products. This is for my schools that have both the English and the Spanish assessment. Now I run the report. And I'm going to be able to see on the same report, here is their reading data, and here is some of their Spanish data. So now I can start to see, do we have a language acquisition issue where they can read in their native language, and now we're transferring those skills over? Or are they struggling readers in their native language? We need to build that up before we start transferring those skills over. So anywhere the data is comparable, those will be next to each other. So like your percentile rank and your level will be next to each other. So if I hover over my English reading, it will highlight all of my English skills, okay? If I hover over Spanish, it will then highlight the Spanish skills, okay? So where you see them separated out over here, that is just where that data does not correlate to each other, okay? So that's a really nice thing about this report. One thing to keep in mind, I can see over here, so if we look at level, for example, Jermaine down here in reading in English is level 1, but in Spanish is level 2. Whichever language you run the report for, so I ran the English report, when I add the other language, it will keep them in the level of the language I originally ran the report for, okay? If I ran the Spanish report, Jermaine would be down here with the level 2 students, even when I add English, okay? So just think about that when you're running these different reports. Last report we'll look at today, I'm gonna go back into my classroom, and this is going to be the priority report. So priority report does just what it sounds like it's gonna do, shows you students who should be a priority for you when you are going to your intervention. So if I click on priority report, the first thing I will see at the top of the report are any of my students who are struggling in the assessment or they are struggling in the instruction, okay? So this is demo data that we're looking at right now, this was run for the end of the year. So this is a full school year's worth of data. So don't let this scare you. Yours won't be this long up here with the links, okay? So I can see they struggled on the assessment up here. I can see how many students struggled there. I can see down here, these cycles. That is where your students were struggling in the instruction. We're going to talk about this a lot more once we get to those data meetings that we're going to have later on. When they take an assessment, if they are level 2 or level 1, so yellow or red, they will land here for that subtest, okay? When they're working in the instruction, if they are struggling with skills, they will land here for that as well, okay? I can click on any of these links here and I can go straight down to that section. So now I can see my students who are listed in this section. I can get some data for them. Okay, at the very top of the report, there was a legend that will show you what these symbols mean. If you hover over it, it will give you a pop-up that tells you what it means as well. General rule of thumb, X's are worse than triangles, and the more color you see, the more they are struggling. I can see when they were listed, how much usage since this time, and the cycle they're working in here as well. The brilliant thing about this report, though, is right up here, I have a link to a recommended teacher-directed lesson, okay? So this is a 4th grade class, so I'm actually going to go to a menu of lessons that I can now choose from to work on with students who are struggling with that. We're going to look a lot more at these in January or February when we meet again, okay? So that is the priority report. It is a great report to look at for your students just to see who is struggling with which skills, right? So let me go back up to the classroom. I noticed there's been some questions about what can we share with parents. So one of the really nice reports for that is called the Student Summary Handout. The Student Summary Handout will be found in a student page, right? So still, we're in the classroom. Now we just go to the student page. So I'm going to click on Brianna here. Once I'm in the student page, I'm going to scroll down. Again, I will see the related reports area here. I'm going to see a link for the student summary handout, okay? So if I click on student summary handout, this report is a report that I can share with parents. So this will allow me to see over the course of the school year how our students are growing with their assessment scores. I can see their score for the current month down here below, and I can see their percentile as well. This little gas gauge will show you kind of where within the level they are. So if they're, a really high level 2, almost into level 3, I can see that. If they're a low level 3 in danger of dropping into level 2, I can see that as well. Down below, I will see there are 4 or 5 usually most recent priority alerts. So this will be shown as well. You can actually remove this section down here at the bottom. If I go up here to the top and uncheck this box, then that will go away right there, okay? From here, I can see the cycle that Brianna is working in. When did she last log in? How much usage? There's a link with her Lexile level. This will link to Lexile's Find a Book page. This example report with descriptions, I think especially with the remote environment that we are in right now, if I do example report, this would be something good to send home to parents with this report, because it will just kind of show them what each of these different sections mean. Normally, we like to do this report, face-to-face in a parent-teacher conference type setting, so that as teachers, we can explain to parents what they're seeing. But as we know this year, that may not be possible for all of them or for many of them. I can also, if I'm in this report for Brianna and I decide, you know what, I need this for everybody, I can go up here to edit report. I can go to targeted users, and I can actually, for my students or for my schools that have English and Spanish, if I have parents who speak primarily Spanish and aren't very strong English speakers or readers, I can change this report into Spanish, even the English report into Spanish for them. I can go to targeted users, and then right here in this box, I can select my entire class. I can run that report again. And now that report will have run for everybody. So I'll have a really long report right here. If you're emailing it, I would probably just email one at a time. You can print with the print button right here. If you want to email it as a PDF, you can just save as PDF and email that out. But if you're going to actually print them, the really nice thing about this report is that it will put a page break above every child's name. So no one will share a sheet of paper with this report. Everybody gets their own separate report to send out. Okay. And again, if you're doing this, if you're going through and doing it by, if you're going to be emailing it, I'd probably just go student by student and save as a PDF, email the PDF home. Okay. So how does everybody feel? I know we filled a lot into a little bit of time. So I know we put a lot of information into your heads. How are we doing with questions, Jill and Michelle?
We're good. Do you mind, Mike, showing the Empowering Educators banner quickly?
Yes, thank you. So thank you very much for that, Michelle. I mentioned earlier that I was going to show you some parent communication tools. So I'm going to go out to the main website. So this is where you actually want to go to the main website, not to your Clever dashboard. So if you just go to www.istation.com, once you land here, you'll see this orange banner, and you can click on this orange banner, and that will take you to an area where I can either choose English or Spanish. Oh, I'm already in English. So down here, you will see a parent guide, how to use iPractice effectively. There's district and school recommendations for administration in a remote environment. So you have Classic and PowerPath. So Brian said he's going to get PowerPath turned on. So we'll see how hopefully that happens quickly. So this is for you guys. And up here we have for parents and caregivers. So this is an assessment guide that parents can look at. So you can email this home to them, or you can just send them a link to this website home and they can go on and do that. So this will just walk them through if they need to download the app at home. If they're on a district device, that should be pushed out for them so they won't have to worry about that. Here's a link for Clever directions if they're using Clever at home as well. And this will show them kind of which icons they need to click on. Right here, you even see we've put on here as well, observe your child while assessing, but please do not help them answer questions. So just make sure that when you're communicating with parents, I think stressing, please do not help them as much as you want to. I need their actual data. So please don't help them. So you'll see this in English. And then up here, I can click into Spanish, Espanol up here, and I will have all of these same documents in Spanish that I can send home as well, okay? You can send just these links to them, and parents can access that from their devices at home as well. So you don't have to even save and send home PDFs if you don't want to. If you have parents that they can handle going to the website and looking at that themselves, you can just send them a link to this, and that will get them here and get them all this information as well.
Hey, Mike, is there a way that you can jump on a student level and just show them what the session activity details looks like? We have a couple people just wanting to see what they're.
Yeah. So this will allow you to see what they have clicked on. You'll have to refresh it, like it won't be real-time question by question. When they finish a subtest, for example, you'd be able to go and see the subtest they just finished. Or when they finish an assessment, you would be able to see that assessment. But when you go into your classroom, you can click into a student name here. And right here, you'll see session activity detail. So I click on this, and you would just choose whichever session you want to look at. So if they're logged in right now, you would see today's date, click in there, and you would be able to see right here in this activity details area. So for example, this student that I just clicked into right here was in cycle 14. So I can click into cycle 14 and I can see any questions they may have asked. Let me go back to the beginning of May and find an assessment. So here we can see is the Spanish assessment. So I can click in here and see that how they were answering questions throughout that assessment, right? So this is just going to be a student by student. And again, it's not real time by the question. So if this student was taking this assessment right now, if they finished vocabulary, I'd be able to refresh this and I could see that they had finished the vocabulary and how they were answering those questions. So pretty quick, but I wouldn't say from a question by question real time, it's not really going to be that. So any other questions? So I see Michelle mention the progress report. If you go into your classroom, again, that's going to be in your classroom as well. We'll talk about this more next time, but if you scroll down, you'll see progress report for English and Spanish. If we click here, this will just show you, you will see kind of the different sections of the instruction. So pre-reading to cycle 15, you'll see all the cycles up here and you can see where your students are currently working and how they've worked through any of the cycles they've already worked through. I can even click on these. So if I wanted to see, I can see that Brianna struggled in cycle 14 in comprehension. I could even click on that X. And I can see here is that cycle 14 kind of opened up a little bit. And I can go in and see she was struggling with main idea, summarization, and even supporting responses. This report is linked in a way to the priority report. So if you see them struggling on this report, you could go to the priority report and see that they were struggling with that same skills there, which again, we'll talk more about that later on. Today, I'm more focused on helping you guys get started. So is everyone feeling good, at least about students getting started using the program? Remember, they will go through their Clever dashboard just like you did. When they click on the app, or when they click on that icon, it will open the app for them and it will log them in. Once that happens, they click on the Reading with iSip or the Lecturicon iSip, and it will automatically give them an assessment if it's the first time they've logged in this month. Once they have finished their assessment, it will automatically show them the instruction that they need to be working in. So for you guys, from getting your students started, there's very minimal work for you guys to do. The assessment, thank you, good question. I would say expect 30 to 40 minutes is what I think is a good time. When we used iStation, we scheduled, this was what, 7 or 8 years ago now. I was in a very inner city school in Dallas, Texas. We had one computer lab with 25 computers in it that mostly worked whenever you turn them on. By the middle of the year, we got the cheapest earphones we could afford every year. So by the middle of the year, I was borrowing headphones from classrooms nearby, the library. We had some of the 1980s, huge earphones that had like the huge plug-in thing, and you had to go get an adapter to make them fit the computer, right? So like that was what we were dealing with. We scheduled an hour in the computer lab for each class, and we very rarely had issues with anyone not finishing. If we did, it was a special case where you knew that was going to happen, right? And that gave teachers time to get their kids into the computer lab, get them seated, get them quiet, get them logged in, because we didn't have Clever. We had to actually use login cards and type in our logins. They were able to take their assessment. Most of the kids had time to work in the instruction for a while after they finished their assessment. So if I would expect about 30 minutes, I'm going to start looking for kids who have finished. I think 30 to 40 is going to be a good amount of time. And again, you can, while they're taking their assessment, you can log in. As you refresh your classroom, you're going to see these completes start to pop up. You can even hop into your ISIP summary report while they're taking their assessment. And as they're taking it, I can refresh this and see scores start popping up as they finish subtests. Okay. So the data is going to be immediate for you guys. And again, there's minimal work on your end for getting the kids started, just telling them to do it. That's like what you need to prepare for. Finding the time, telling them to do it, and then getting them to do it. And telling the parents not to help. All right, are we feeling pretty good? I hope we're feeling at least comfortable getting them started. I'm not as concerned about the data yet because we've got plenty of time to talk about that, and we're going to talk about it a lot this year. So Aaron just dropped a sign-in sheet into the chat and your timesheet link. So please don't forget to go do that because we want to make sure you get credit, whatever that credit may be, whether it's dollar bills or cookies. I want you to get all of them. So please don't forget to do that before you leave today. If I don't have anything else for you, unless you have questions. Aaron, do you want to say some words to everybody?
Sure. Just a big thank you to all of you who've been willing to stick around this afternoon and learn more about iStation and how we can use this to help support our students. We'll be providing, as Mike said, we'll be providing additional PD later, either January or first part of February, and there'll be another follow-up after that. If you have questions between now and then, I strongly encourage you to take a look at the iStation resources. I've been totally amazed by the wonderful resources that are on there. So a lot of the questions I've had, I've just found by exploring on my own. But then if you do get stuck, feel free to reach out to me, Aurelio, Lori, Molly, Erica. We're all here to provide help. And if we don't have the answer, we'll get it for you. So thank you.
Yep. And Aaron, before we go, I want to make sure everyone knows the teacher resources, printable resources. When you log into the website, the home screen, if you go to this big purple box, thousands of printable resources available. You have reading, you have Spanish as well. You can search by text, or you can even go through a search wizard here and kind of find by skill and pre-filter as we go through. The next meeting we have when we talk about data, we're going to spend some time here as well. So 2 pieces of homework for everybody. Take an assessment, explore teacher resources. Sound good? All right. Thank you guys so much for your time today. And you are free from me.
Yep, just make sure you sign your timesheet through that Google form.
I saw a question if they should put 1.5 hours or 2 hours, Aaron.
It'd be 1.5.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for your time. We will send the recording to Aaron, who can then forward it to everybody else, or a link to the recording. I'll send Aaron you that change grade or set grade document as well here in just a minute.
Okay.
We have not set the next sessions up. Aaron and I will be in communication to figure out when those are. I think we talked about end of January, beginning of February as kind of a tentative timeline for right now. All right. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thanks again.
So Erin, just to clarify, we can do this tomorrow with our kids. They'd go in through Clever, correct?
You need to post that link in your Google Classroom. That will take
Okay.
them through the sign in, and then it will, once they click on it, you just need to know that once they click on it, it'll fill their screen.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just need to be prepared for what to do once it launches.
Okay, so like if we, in our Google Classroom for elementary, we just create a material and have that link always there, then they can just click on it and it will go. They don't have to actually go to Student Resources Clever.
Right.
That. Got it. Thank you.
All right. We'll hang around if anyone has questions. If not, feel free to leave. I don't know why I'm waving to everybody, but I did.
It's what we do now, right?
Let's become. I'm gonna. Anytime I have in-person meetings, I'm gonna start waving when I leave, just because I'm used to it now from Zoom.
Erin, I just want to say hi. This is Jess Carsetter. I just want to
Hey
say
there.
hi and say thanks so much. I saw a lot of people from Garfield and Barge and Adams here. And I'm just so excited to see where the Spanish piece can take us. And as we
Me too.
start rolling down the dual language highway, we got another suitcase in the back now. So thank you for helping us pack that.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm excited.
Good. Awesome.
Cecilia, you're back. What building are you at now?
I'm at Whitney Elementary.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes. And I've been busy taking all the trainings that are available. Yes. Thank you for this training. I will be looking into it. I have first graders this time around. So it will definitely be like a trial to see
Yeah.
how they figure it out. I mean, they're pretty smart. They've been teaching me a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I look forward to working with them on figuring out how it looks on their end.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this training.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
You too.
I have a question about how it's set up because we set up our grade book as strategic intensive and benchmark, and then another one as whole grade level. When they take it in the whole grade level, or do they take it in the individual classroom? How do I go about doing that?
It will log them in through Clever. So it's separate from Reading Wonders and Adaptive Learning. So you won't have to worry about that part of it for this.
When I look at it, I have 4 classes in iStation. So
Then
I can look at
go-
it as a whole class, and then I can go into each one and it will just transfer into the other 3 classes. Is that correct?
I would go in through your main class and not do it through the benchmark strategic and intensive.
Okay.
Just go in through your main class.
Okay, and it will assign it to them through the main class, or
Yeah.
it will transfer both spots then, is that correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So student accounts and the website can exist in multiple classrooms.
Okay.
And it will just copy the data from that student's assessment into everywhere that into any of the classrooms their account exists in.
Okay, thank you so much. That was
You're welcome.
confusing me a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll see one assessment. You'll get data whichever classrooms they're in. You'll see data in all of those.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Jessica, I'm so excited that you're excited about using iStation with dual language. I actually have a 3rd grade niece that has been using it since pre-K, and she's in dual language, and it's just been really awesome to see the program because it's authentic. So she's not seeing the same reading program in English as she's seeing in Spanish. So it's completely different characters, and she loves it. So it's fun.
And
Good.
that was the thing that jumped out to Erica when she first reviewed the Spanish side, is just that it's done so well for Spanish learners.
And there's
Yeah.
also a lot of cultural things with it. Like there's someone from Mexico, someone from Puerto Rico, and she's like, "Oh, that's what they do in Puerto Rico." I'm like, "How do you know that?" She's like, "iStation." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Excellent. Good.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's good.
Absolutely.
I wanted to wait. Let's see, there's not many people on. 8 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. I wanted to just throw this idea out to you, just of a possible term. It's not meant to nitpick. It's just meant to be a suggestion.
Totally.
In your tabs, you had reading, math, and Spanish. and I have no idea what the implications of this would be, but you might want to consider doing English reading, Spanish reading as just another way to put that.
Mhm.
And of course, please know, Erin can vouch for me. I'm not here to nitpick. I'm just here to like
No.
support the efforts, lift the heavy part. But as I
Yeah.
looked at that, I thought, okay, it's kind of like, is it Spanish language or is
Yeah.
it Spanish literacy? And so that might be just a term to put in because I know, I think, I don't know with where things are at with dual language around the country, but I know like we're really growing. So I'm going to just use that verbiage as I talk with people, say, this is English reading, this is Spanish reading.
Mhm.
And
No,
just,
that's a very good recommendation.
Yeah.
And we love those because we are a company that creates the program. We don't ship it outside of the house to make it. So yeah, those are great recommendations.
I picked that up. I was like, this is not super SpaghettiOs. Like they're a little organic. Good. Yeah. And this is, as we think about language as a subject versus language
Absolutely.
as a form of literacy, it just could be a little thing to just add to how we think about what language is and that. But I just really appreciate the efforts, Erin. I know this has probably been a long time coming to find the perfect fit, and I'm just hopeful it's going to be a great fit for us all. And so thanks for all the efforts to make this happen. Awesome.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to go pick up my kid. I will see you. Shift into parenting mode. I'll talk to y'all later, okay?
All right.
Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
And I just sent over that document, Erin, to you.
It's
And then
Zoom.
I will be sending the recording. It might take a few hours through the cloud, and then I'll send it over as soon as probably tomorrow morning. Awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going. Thank you guys.
All
I'm gonna
right.
get some dinner.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.